Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff says that we're not going to stop AI from making stuff up. We need to keep a human in the loop. More and more leaders coming out talking about the shortcomings of AI and how it's not going to have the effect that everyone is hyping it up to have. Specifically, we're talking about generative AI. There's been a lot of conversation around AGI and like advanced AI and the stuff you see in sci-fi movies, but we're literally talking about the generative AI movement that we're having. I'm not saying it's a negative thing so much to say, but there's just some nuances to it that I think a lot of people aren't highlighting. This CEO for Salesforce, I think, makes an interesting point, and this is coming off of our last article where we had a tech analyst, one of the top tech analysts, Dan Ives, say that we're at the beginning of a dot-com type bubble, but it's 1995 and not 1999. You can check that video out earlier. This is really interesting following up, but this person from Fortune highlights that AI is taking over. A lot of people are talking about it. They specifically mentioned the tech analyst Dan Ives saying what they said about the dot-com bubble and how they feel Dan Ives and the people that the organization that he represents feels as though we're at the beginning phase of this, meaning there's room to grow, there's room to make money, there's room for it to expound, and that we have a long time before we have that almost like bubble burst. But in the article itself, he doesn't even really talk about that moment ever coming. But this is really interesting as this person goes on and kind of talks about the different services and even passes a comment right here where it says, but where are we on the hype curve? Yesterday, I stopped by a Salesforce event hosted by CEO Marc Benioff in New York to promote its new products, which are essentially its old products with AI attached and GPT added to the name. And they list their stuff like Slack GPT, Einstein GPT, Sales GPT. And Benioff, as always, is all in. Anyone who is old enough to remember the 1990s may think this sounds similar to the dot-com craze when businesses by the hundreds attached .com to their name and saw valuations soar, but tech analyst Dan Ives says that this is not a 1999 moment with a bubble about to burst, but rather a 1995 moment with a long and steep runway ahead. I would... and in the last video, we kind of talked about that if you want to see where we're at there. But this is something that's really interesting because in the course of the conversation with the CEO for Salesforce, Marc Benioff, he passes a comment. It says, as someone who has spent my life attempting to acquire facts and uncover truth, I continue to be disturbed by ChatGPT's casual disregard for both. And I asked Benioff about this yesterday. His response: we haven't solved this problem. We're not going to solve this problem. That's why we need to keep a human in the loop. The way we've implemented this, there's always somebody involved before they push the send button. And so essentially what we're seeing here is what I think is actually how this is going to play out. OpenAI has discussed how they're trying to solve what they call AI hallucinations, which is when AI, the generative AI model, the language model, generates random facts and information that aren't true. We recently had that lawyer who's getting in trouble because they straight up just took the information they got from ChatGPT. It says in the transcripts that he turned over that he asked ChatGPT if it was true, and ChatGPT was like, yeah, no, that's all true. And now he's getting in trouble because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I've said this in a bunch of videos, but it cited 6 cases that were incorrect. And so Marc Benioff says that the way they've implemented it in Salesforce is there's always a human overseeing the process. And I think this is where it's kind of getting off rocker, which is that a lot of people are saying that generative AI is going to take control. He says we haven't solved this problem and we're not going to solve this problem, and that it's always going to be an issue, that someone needs to be there to sift through the facts and the fictions. And I think that that's going to be the case, and that's one of the reasons why I've said that I believe that there's not going to be as massive of a layoff in certain industries. I can't remember which leader it was. It was a hedge fund manager, and the name escapes me right now, but I recently did a video, and I actually agree with his point in saying that there are certain industries, such as coding, that are going to experience this massive layoff because there's certain areas of work that do not require that level of input, where you have to be able to make sure that you're checking informations and facts, like where coders are entering and asking GPT to code and program for them, and they're able to check it in real time. So those kind of industries will most likely face a massive layoff, and the ones that stick around are going to be the problem solvers. That's what this hedge fund manager said. It's an earlier video that I did, and I just can't. The name escapes me right now. And it shouldn't, because he's a very well-known figure, and I'm just a dummy. So bear with me. But he was talking about that, and I tend to agree with him. And so I would say that the trend we're going to see is that certain areas of industry that are going to implement GPT will have a slower, will actually have a drop off in hiring. So there'll be a slower, like a lower, slower process for hiring employees on, because it'll probably, what used to take 5 staff members may only take 1 or 2 staff members now, and so on and so forth. And so this person, the way Marc Benioff is using it, I think is exactly what you're going to actually see in the real world. Salesforce. Don't know why I said it like that. I'm just having a problem today. But Salesforce is one of those organizations, one of those tech companies that has its hands in multiple different industries, ranging from insurance to real estate. I mean, they're in multiple downstream industries that are outside of tech, and I think that that's kind of the reality. I think it's going to bleed out and kind of like trickle down and water down as it goes. Like, you're not going to see as much generative AI taking control of different things as what's being projected on television and what a lot of people are concerning themselves with. And I think that this is going to be the reality of it, which is that there always is going to have to be someone there sifting through the information. And so that's how generative AI is going to play a role in the industry. I do think, though, that if they can't get their hands if they can't get their hands on the dial for what's causing this AI hallucination, I don't think that there's going to be as much of a mass market adoption as people are saying, because layman's people such as myself, those of us who are just the regulars who barely understand the stuff, will have a hard time just fully implementing it into companies, rather than having someone there that you can trust in and rely on and hold accountable, because there is no accountability with it. And I just think that's going to be a reality for the course. They, so far, there hasn't been any other information out that I know of yet. I'm trying to keep up with it and look as far as if they have had an answer come up for AI hallucinations and what they're going to do about it. I think that that's going to be the key role, because of the model itself, the generative AI. It's not real AI. It's not actually thinking. It's just following a program and pulling information that it finds, and somehow in that mix, it just makes up dubious information. So, I think that's what we're going to continue to see. But I thought it was really interesting, Marc Benioff for Salesforce passing that comment, and I think that's the reality you're going to see as it trickles down. I can totally picture bigger companies that aren't so tech-based, that are more service-based, utilizing generative AI models such as this in this way, but not necessarily using it to replace staff members. I think that it's just going to be a more productive situation. And so if there's 5 people in your HR department, they may not see the need to fire 4 of them right away. But as you lose employees, as they move on to different jobs, as they age out, they retire, yada, yada, they may not see a need to so quickly replace the role. That's kind of what I see happening from a corporate standpoint. And then again, I could be wrong. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are, comments in the comment section below. I thought this was really interesting. When you've got guys like Mark Cuban saying, I don't care how big you are or how small you are, you have to learn about AI. I tend to agree with that, because it could be helpful and useful. I just don't know. I think it's the area, I think it's still 50-50 on how much of an adoption you're going to see people use this stuff with. And how many people are actually going to be, taking it. So let me know. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you think I'm out of touch with it and you think I'm not, I don't know what I'm talking about, let me know below, and we'll talk about it. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But if you guys have anything that you want to add to it, I'm really interested to see what other people's response are with this, because I'm really curious to see if people are so quickly going to grab it and run with it, or if it's something that a lot of people are waiting on. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I thought this was really interesting. I hope you guys liked it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.